Hey Crypt Keepers, I want to tell you about our exciting new affiliation with Parabox. Parabox is a t-shirt subscription box with a twist. Each month you will receive a new paranormal soft style tee and info card about that month's theme. The shirt and card will contain clues to finding a hidden password for use on their website. You'll also find clues to next month's theme. Correct entries get entered in a raffle for free gear. The shirts are unique. They're pretty dope with designs about all your favorite paranormal stuff like Black-Eyed Kids, Bigfoot, Nazca Lines, and a really cool Battle of Los Angeles tee. That's one I'm hoping I will get here sometime soon. The designs are silk screened onto a soft style tee that's super comfortable. From the moment you open your Parabox, you'll be so engrossed by the t-shirt, you'll forget there's a puzzle built into it. That's right, each shirt contains a secret password. It can be in the form of codes, ciphers, riddles, numbers, images, or other hidden gems. Have fun exploring the design and putting the pieces together to figure out where to go next. Get your exclusive link in the show notes, and we get a little kickback when you sign up for the box, so you can support the show while getting cool swag with mysteries in the process. Good evening, Crypt Keepers, and welcome to Cryptique. I'm joined as always by a man who thinks we're living on a cube. Ryan, what's going on?
Okay, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm invigorated, man.
You are?
I'm doing good. Yeah, you didn't even have a good fact about me. Yeah. Whereas I've already got some. If I was doing it the other way, I would have had one.
All right, well, do it then. We can just cut all that out. Tell them what they need to know.
Please, if you like the show, share us on social media, share us with friends, family, anybody that you think might be interested, even if you don't agree with what we have to say, because we don't always necessarily agree with everything that we talk about, but we like to present all sides. We like to present, you guys probably have recognized that I'm the more skeptical one here, or at least I'm less good at keeping my skepticism in check. Mm-hmm. We want to present some interesting information for you guys, some fun stories. So sharing those is the best way to help us out. It's the most organic way for something like this to grow and to find an audience and to hopefully get some good feedback from you guys, because we need a community to get ideas from and build this whole thing around. And you can find us and possibly other members of this community through our TikTok, which is at Cryptique_podcast, or YouTube at Cryptique Podcast.
And for the YouTube channel, we did just put out the Priest's Diary. I'm going to try and release each episode on YouTube on the Sunday following the podcast release. So if you enjoy watching YouTube, or that's your preferred source, they will start being available there as well.
And another way to help us out, as always, is to check out Parabox, which we've talked about a million times. They make awesome t-shirts, great designs, obscure and interesting topics. It's hard to come up with something new and interesting to say about them that I haven't said before. I just really like their designs. I think they make some great products, and you can find a link to them in the show notes. But what are we talking about tonight, Jay?
Tonight, we're joined by the master of flat earth theory and friend of the show, Dave WEISS. Welcome to Cryptique, Dave. We don't have much time, so let's jump right into it. Welcome to Cryptique. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how maybe you came across this theory to start with?
Yeah, all flat earthers basically have the same story. They heard about it and they rejected it as total nonsense without investigating. And I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, which looked into many major deceptions of this world. And when it was brought up to me, I literally banned people from our social media for even suggesting that I look into something so stupid. And it wasn't until my good friend Sophia Smallstorm said, "Dave, I think the earth is flat." And I went in it not with an open mind, with a closed mind. I went in it I said, I'm just going to prove this nonsense. There's a million reasons the Earth is a globe, ships over the horizon, seasons, sunsets, day and night, all of the stuff that we've been indoctrinated to believe is proof of the globe. And when I started looking, it all fell apart. And that's how you become a flat earther, if that's the term you want to use. But, it is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's only when you look into it and you realize that all of the things that you thought proved the globe actually are pure pseudoscience. There's millions and millions and millions of people becoming flat earthers, and none of them switch back to the globe. That should tell you something. So it's a huge deception that lots of people haven't been ready to deal with. But now, there's a shift in energy in the world, and people are waking up incredibly fast.
Absolutely. Can you? So before we get into anything real deep here, can you tell us a little bit about the fake controlled opposition, like the Flat Earth Society, and then tell us a little bit about the NASA images, because people are going to have a real hard time getting over the NASA images.
Yeah. So, everything in this world, and when I say everything, I don't mean most things. I kind of mean everything. Everything that's presented to us is a lie. All of our history is a lie. I mean, the Wild West is a lie. Dinosaurs are a lie. Nuclear power is a lie. The globe is a lie. It just goes so deep. And, when you Google's going to feed you what they want to feed you the best that they can.
Right.
So if you Google flat Earth, you're going to see that disc floating in space. No flat earther thinks that we're a disc floating in space, but that's what they want non-flat earthers to think flat earthers think.
Right.
Okay. And then if you look up, go for some articles or anything, you most likely land at the Flat Earth Society or one of the anti-flat Earth channels, which these are paid deceivers or possessed deceivers. Paid or possessed doesn't make a difference. They're deceivers, and they know it. So, if you go to the Flat Earth Society, which no flat earther goes to, you'll go, wow, flat Earth is really dumb. Now I'm really never going to look at it. And that's the plan, And, people like Obama and, Castro up in Canada, they are constantly mentioning flat Earth in their speeches. It's coming out all the time because they want you to laugh at it. They're trying to use the deep indoctrination that flat Earth is dumb to tie it to other things. So once you start seeing that, then the first thing that you jump to is like, well, what about NASA? What about all the photos of Earth? You know that NASA admits that they don't have any photos of Earth. NASA admits they don't have any photographs of Earth. They have data composited together. Mm-hmm. The blue marble that was on everyone's iPhone was created in Photoshop, admittedly by the guy that created it that works for NASA, a visual artist named Robert Simon. Mm-hmm. And he said he made it in Photoshop from data. He made it to look the way people would want to think the Earth looks. So the whole thing, for those of you listening now that are like flat Earth and you're ready to change the channel, why? What difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. That's exactly where they want you. Mm-hmm. They want you to have to go to work on Monday. Yeah. They want you to think that the place that you live, the fact that you're at the center of creation, the fact that nobody has control over you, the fact that nobody has authority over you other than your imagination, the fact that there's endless resources, that they're hiding all sorts of cures and free energy and everything, that doesn't matter, right? They want you to think that doesn't matter, okay? Everyone works in their slave job. Imagine if you didn't have to pay for fuel for your car or fuel for your home. Would things matter? Because what if there was free energy devices that could power all of them forever, mm-hmm. right? They're hiding all sorts of things. They're keeping us sick and tired, weak, and tied into big pharma. Mm-hmm. So why does it matter? Flat Earth is the linchpin, is the key to regaining our freedom. Because if everyone in the world realizes that we are at the center of creation on an intelligently designed place, all the governments in the world will simultaneously fail, and all of the power will be taken away and given back to the people. So why does it matter? That's why it matters.
Well, I definitely agree with you that they're lying about everything they can possibly lie about. And, I joke with Ryan, I say, well, I'm going to believe it's flat until the government comes out and says, yeah, it's flat. Then I'll be like, I don't know. I need to do some more research. But so that's why they're lying to us. Resources and basically just trying to make people feel stupid if they open their mind at all.
There's a bunch of reasons besides people figuring out who they are, where they are, what they are, the power that they have. They're hiding freedom. They're hiding more land, in my opinion. Okay, but we don't need to speculate what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica, that there's other worlds out there. I believe that there's other worlds just thousands of miles away here on the Earth plane.
Okay, we
don't need to speculate about places that we right now aren't allowed to go to prove the Earth is flat. It's demonstrably, observably flat. All of our experiences in life show us the Earth is flat and stationary, and nothing shows us that there's curvature other than deception and weak minds believing, oh, look, the bottom part of that building, I can't see it, or the bottom part of that boat, I can't see it. But in reality, you shouldn't be able to see the top of that building. Mm-hmm. It should be hidden behind a physical curve if we lived on a ball. But just because you can't see the bottom, and that's easily explainable and provable and showable and demonstratable, why you lose the bottoms of buildings and mountains and boats, doesn't show we're on a globe. But people are very weak-minded. They're like, oh, bottom's missing, therefore the Earth is a globe. We're spinning on a ball upside down. It's crazy. Our feet are antipodal to each other in Australia and the United States. Absolute and total nonsense. So again, you said you'll believe that the Earth is flat. Don't believe anything. Belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief is easy.
Sure.
Belief is easy. Hey, I live in Connecticut. You believe it?
Sure, why not?
Okay, but you don't know it, you believe it. Okay, but if you want to know it, you got to take the time and effort to go do some research and look it up and find me on Facebook and find my friends and find my high school and like, you know what? He lives in Connecticut. There's enough evidence. Now you know. Okay? But belief is easy. Belief takes no effort. You want to believe something? Done. You heard it? Okay, done. Right? But if you want to know it might take you days or weeks or months to know it. Okay?
Sure.
And people are lazy.
Admittedly, yes, absolutely. So tell us why ships disappear on the horizon. Like you were saying, you can't see the bottom, but you can see the top. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah. And again, I'll describe it here on this audio podcast, but I encourage people to go to flatearthdave.com and there's videos there. There's tons of videos. There's my app is there, which has a button on it under the frequently asked questions called Ships Over the Horizon. Mm-hmm. We can see too far. But how it works is when you're looking into the distance, that horizon, horizontal eye zone, horizon, okay, it ramps up and it comes up to just about appears to be at eye level, and the sky ramps down and it all meets at your eye level. So if you're a snake on the floor in a Home Depot, you can't see all the way across that Home Depot, but I'm standing next to the snake 6 feet in the air. I have a better angle of attack on that and I could see farther, right? As you go lower down, your angle, the way it hits the floor, just becomes your horizontal eye zone. And then by raising yourself up, you can see farther. But the deceptors, the deceivers, the globalists, they want you to think, oh, you can see farther because it's a ball and you're looking over the curve, which is ridiculous. None of that is true. Because if the Earth is the size that they tell us and it's so huge, raising yourself up, 100 feet, 1,000 feet, a couple thousand feet, how much farther are you going to be able to see? You can't even see that far through the atmosphere to make a difference if the Earth was a globe. But it all has to do with angles of perception. And then when you look out over the water, on the days where like the bottoms of those windmills are missing or half the city skyline is missing, it's because there's waves in the foreground. So a wave in the foreground, a wave, like 2 or 3 miles out, 4 miles out, whatever, a whole bunch of waves are blocking things in the distance that are smaller and hiding behind those waves, because those waves are above the plane of the water, the plane of the earth, and they'll block out entire city skylines. Right? I have tons of videos in showing this. Again, on the app is the best way to find them. FlatEarthDave.com.
Yeah, I love the app, and I do love the fact that you can just click a button and it goes straight to a video, and you definitely need to see the videos. We appreciate you coming on here and just talking audio with us, but you really, really, really need the app, and you really need to be able to watch the videos and how you explain everything, because it's just so hard to do.
Right. Why do I need the app? It's $3 the lifetime.
Right.
$3.
Right.
That's it. And why do I need the app? It's because the app costs a lot of money to process. And, if you want to go search the internet for this stuff, you're going to waste about 500 hours to get maybe 2 hours of good content. Okay. So if your 498 hours is not worth $3, I don't think we really have much to talk about.
Can't help you.
Can't help you.
Where does the sun go?
The sun, so we have 3 layers. We have the terrestrial layer, that's the earth, the water, everything that we see. Mm-hmm. So a boat and a city and a mountain, they're all on the terrestrial layer. Then we have the atmospheric layer, the column of atmosphere. Let's say it goes up 10,000, 20,000 feet, okay? So, and then we have the celestial layer. Those are the lights above the atmosphere, the sun, the moon, the stars.
Okay.
Anything that we see that's above the atmosphere. So when you look into the distance, just 20 miles away over water, it all merges together to your horizontal eye zone. Okay. And so imagine a cumulus cloud day where they spread out clouds and they're all sitting on that flat deck. They're 5,000 or 10,000 feet above you. And you're looking up at the ones above you and they're straight up. You point up and go, yeah, that cloud's 5,000 or 10,000 feet above me, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And then you look into the distance over the water, and 20 miles away, those clouds are literally touching the water. Now, you know that they're not touching the water. Mm-hmm. You know that it's just perspective that's bringing them down. Okay. But at 20, 30 miles away, it all literally just merges into that horizontal eye zone, that opaque line. Now, if we had let's say there was a boat, 30 miles away, and I have my Nikon P1000 camera or a nice telescope, and I can zoom in. When you're zooming in, what you're doing is you're increasing the angular size. You're increasing the space. And so you can see farther than your eyes would allow you to see. So you open up that space and boom, there's the boat, there's the mountain, there's the city skyline. But the celestial objects, the sun and the moon and the stars, they're above that layer. Now, when you look up through the air column, it's pretty clear. But when you look forward, straight across that air column, it gets really thick. If you go in a big Olympic-sized swimming pool and you go down the bottom, 5, 10 feet, whatever, and you look up, you can see the ceiling, no problem. You can see people looking down at you, like, what the hell are you doing on the bottom of the pool? But then if you look across the pool, if it's 50 yards, let's say, you can't even see the other side. That's because the clear water becomes opaque over distance. Okay? The air is the same. So even without clouds, the air becomes opaque over a relatively short distance. So as the sun is moving away across the flat earth, it literally merges behind those clouds. Now you zoom in with your camera, you're opening up that layer, the air column layer, mm-hmm. and the earth layer. You're opening that up, but anything above that air column is going behind an opaque barrier. And that's the opaque barrier. Again, on my channel, DITRH stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, but you can find it on the app under Where Does the Sun Go? Mm-hmm. I have tons of videos, experiments we've done inside and observations we've done outside, showing you exactly how this works. Now, people go, oh, you want me to believe a video? Oh my. I'm like, no, the video is going to show you something, and then you can go verify it yourself. People watch it and they go, I never thought of that. I never actually thought of that. And that's done by design. Your design, you're told that, when you watch the sunset, the sun's not going down. You're falling over backwards at 1,000 miles an hour, faster than the speed of sound. That's why the sun's going down. Is that the experience you have when you're watching the sunset? Do you feel like you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound? Because that's what the heliocentric model dictates. Okay. Or is the sun just moving away and getting eclipsed by the atmospheric layer? just like it appears to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the sun goes, and you can go observe it with new eyes after you look into it.
Fair enough. All right, moving along. What about satellites and GPS?
Yeah, the ground positioning system is exactly that. It used to be called the Loran system, and it was all tower-based. Towers, stuck in the ground that do not move, that measure things precisely, right? A tower sends out a signal. So let's say you're in the middle of nowhere and you've got your cell phone. And one tower sends out a ping, boom, and it just sends out an equidistant circle. It spreads out, and that circle finds you. It says, "Oh, I found him.
Mm-hmm.
He's X number of miles away." But that tower doesn't know where you are. You're somewhere on that circle, somewhere. It could be anywhere on a circle. Then another tower sends it out, and now the circles intersect, and it finds you, and it goes, "Okay, it's somewhere." On this radius of the intersected circles, then a third tower does it, and it pinpoints the exact point on all three circles where you are. And that's how GPS works. You have to believe, if you believe that satellites are doing GPS, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? It's orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour, speeding up and slowing down, going in a curved trajectory, and it's chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour, okay? And that entire system's moving sideways at 2.2 million miles per hour as the whole Milky Way moves through the universe.
This is one that you guys have to see to understand.
Yeah.
You can't explain it verbally. You have to see the video.
It's right that your mind short circuits here because it's absolute nonsense. But now you have to believe that a spaceship went up into space, kicked out a tin can, and that can, a geostationary satellite, is staying over Arizona, for example, while the Earth is spinning, twirling, whirling, speeding up, slowing down, going in 4 different directions at once. But that satellite is falling over the Earth at the perfect speed, remaining exactly stationary, so it can tell you, it can send out a ping and say, "Oh, I found your cell phone, and I nail your position within a couple of feet." Okay, that's ridiculous, right? That's absolute ridiculous. And the other thing is, there's GPS doesn't work everywhere. It doesn't work in the middle of the southern oceans. It doesn't work over the Amazon jungle where there's no modern civilization. Yeah, there's no towers. Now again, don't get me wrong. NASA puts up tens of thousands of satellites on balloons. They might even have a way to quantum lock something to the firmament. They have old warplanes, not the B-2 bombers, the ones with the big long wings, whatever. They have a dozen of those that are gridding the Earth at all the time. They have AWACS up there. They have all these other things. All of these things might be contributing to help with communications and maybe some positioning. But again, it's not these satellites magically falling around Earth. We had the Loran system. Then Arthur C. Clarke wrote a book about satellites, and then all of a sudden we had satellites, and the Loran became, they put a graphic overlay over it and go, "Oh, now it's all coming from space." And everybody forgot about the towers.
Was that a satellite on this so-called Chinese spy balloon? Because it sure looks like a satellite to me, or what they tell us a satellite looks like.
It's a complete and total psyop. Now, assuming the Earth is flat, which it is, that balloon could not even make it from China. Okay, let alone on a heliocentric world. You look at the globe in space. That's a lie, because you can't have a high pressure system adjacent to a Tor 17 vacuum without a physical barrier. It breaks the second law of thermodynamics. And so even discussing how that balloon got from China to us on a ball is ridiculous. But knowing that the Earth is flat, we know that balloon did not come from China, because we've sent up balloons. That's the wrong kind of balloon. It can't reach the altitudes that they were saying. It won't go that far. They literally used the wrong kind of balloon to do what it said that it did, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. You mention that to someone, they're like, "Oh, well, it was on all the news."
Yeah.
It's a total psyop distraction. Look over here, because we don't want you looking over there.
Yeah, don't look up, right?
I think they want you looking up. I think that's why they put it up there, because they want us looking up, because I think they're going to try to pull off the Project Bluebeam alien invasion soon, and they want enough people looking up because everyone's looking down at their phones right now.
Right.
They want people to look up. They want people to see this stuff. They're conditioning people, that stuff is going on in the sky. But I think the whole thing's falling apart, to be honest. Their entire matrix of control. Too many people are waking up, and it's our minds that create this world. And when our minds wake up, their world of deception crumbles.
I don't want to get too far off on that, and I'm sorry to keep you rapid fired here, but there's just so much.
Oh, good. I love rapid fire. Go ahead.
All right. So tell us about the seasons. Why are there seasons on a flat Earth?
Okay. So this is one. First, let me say, it's really simple what I'm telling you, but no one was taught to think this way. So we're gonna stay on this one for a couple of minutes. All right. So on the globe spins around an axis. So go everyone, look at your globe. Imagine your globe, and it spins around the axis. Okay, and that axis points towards the North Star, right? But if you compare the axis to the sun, it's tilted away from the sun. Except when the top half is the north is tilted away from the sun, right? You have the axis, and then when the Earth maintains that exact tilt, it goes all the way around to the other side of the sun. Well, now the top half is tilted towards the sun. And they claim that seasons are because the sun's getting more direct rays towards, more direct concentrated rays, right? That's the official explanation. But think about this. If you have a ball and let's pretend the axis is straight up and down, okay? And I remove the rod, so now you just have a ball, okay? So I took the imaginary rod out because there is no real rod and no axis.
Sure.
And I tilt the ball to the left a little bit. Is that tilting the ball? So we have the sun off to the right. I got the ball, right, next to it, and I tilt the ball away from the sun. So the United States, which is on the northern hemisphere, I tilt it away from the sun. I tilt it towards the sun. So I'm changing the angle that the United States is to the sun. You with me?
With you.
So what's another way I can tilt it? I can also tilt it by spinning it, right? So the United States is facing the sun, and I can spin it, 23 degrees, and now the United States is not, it's at a winter angle, if you will. Okay, so you can't tilt the ball in only one direction. So think about this. In the heliocentric model, that's the globe model, they tell us because of that little tilt, that angle, that causes our seasons. When we're tilted away from the sun, where are you guys located? What state?
Missouri. St. Louis.
You're in Missouri. It gets cold there, right?
Very much.
In the winter. Okay, so when we're tilted away from the sun, that gives us our winter. But did you know that in the heliocentric model, we're 3.5 million miles closer to the sun in our winter?
I did know that.
Okay.
And that's never been explained.
Yeah, well, the Globers say, well, it's only a couple of percent. It doesn't matter. It's the angle that matters, which is nonsense, right? The Earth is, the sun is supposedly 186,000 miles across. Okay, 186,000 miles across, okay? What difference does it make? All of those rays are supposedly coming at us parallel. So we're tilted a little bit away. Is the atmosphere going to absorb that much of the sun? Because we're getting all of those direct rays. They're all coming in straight, even though no one's ever seen rays come in straight, but they say they're coming in straight, right? And so in the every day at dawn in Missouri, when the sun appears on the horizon, it should be freezing because that's the most tilted away you can be. The sun is literally, it's skimming across the Earth. It's not direct at all. It's the most tilted. We're 89 degrees tilted.
Okay.
But in the summer, you can feel the heat on your face with the farther sun at the most tilted ray. And then in December, at noon, when the sun is at its highest point for the day, you can look at the sun and you can't even feel the heat. And you're 3.5 million miles closer. It doesn't make any sense once you can understand what I said. Again, on the app, under the frequently asked questions, what about seasons? Watch those videos and then you'll know. But here's a quick example.
Okay.
How it works on a flat Earth. The sun migrates outwards to the Tropic of Capricorn in December and inwards to the Tropic of Cancer in June. So if you and I were in December or January or February, we're outside, we're freezing our butts off, there's ice on the ground, and we're sitting 20 feet apart, okay? Because, we don't want to get the COVID, all right? And we're trying to drink our beers, but they're frozen. And then a friend comes over and has a giant heat lamp on a 15-foot pole and holds it directly over your head, 15 feet above you. And you look up and you're like, oh my God, that's so nice. You take off your coat, your beer melts, right?
Uh-huh.
You're feeling good, right? But I'm 20 feet away. If I ask you to point to that sun, that heat lamp, you point straight up. And you're like, I'm warm.
Mhm.
But I point at it, I'm pointing at like 45 degrees. It's not directly above me. It's about 45 degrees out south, if you will.
Mhm.
And I can barely feel the heat. Okay. So that's your summer, my winter. Now that person walks over to me, takes them 6 months to get over to me. And you watch that sun get farther away and get lower in the sky, even though it's still remaining at 15 feet. I watch it get closer and higher, just like we see in our summer as the sun approaches.
Mhm.
It gets higher in the sky, and all of a sudden I can feel the heat. You can't feel the heat. It's my summer. It's your winter. Think about it. That's how seasons work.
And there's a great illustration. I mean, just, you can watch it every day. On your app, you can watch it just kind of circle out and then kind of come back in. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. Here's the thing. Flat Earth isn't something you can go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Okay, cool, Earth is flat. You need to do the work. You need to unprogram yourself, and you need to verify and prove everything yourself. Do not believe a single thing that I say. Listen to what I say. Think about it. Do the experiments yourself, and then you'll see that the heliocentric model is the helio-nonsensical model. It's absolute and total pseudoscience bullshit.
All right, moving on. How about gravity? Because that's what they say is holding us onto this spinning ball. We'll find out after a quick break. Welcome back, Crypt Keepers.
Yeah, so, they told us Newtonian gravity, mass attracts mass, and they changed it recently to Einsteinian gravity, the bending of space-time, like, why does it bend space in one direction and not in all different directions? And it's total nonsense. The Newtonian, mass attracting mass gravity is just a theory. Science admits it's a theory, and people are like, no, it's not. It's a proven fact. Nope, it's a theory. I'm not saying that. Go verify. Go look it up. It's just a theory. Neil deGrasse Tyson says it himself. And 96% of it is wrong, so they made up dark matter and dark energy to fill in 96%. When you have a theory and 96% of it's wrong, you throw the theory out. You don't make up some nonsense, but they're like, oh, no, it has to exist, otherwise the Earth isn't a globe. Or maybe the Earth just isn't a globe, okay? And so gravity makes absolutely no sense. If you hold your hand, you're holding your hand flat and your palm is to the floor, and then you get a 5-pound frying pan in your other hand and you want to stick it to your hand, how much pressure do you have to apply upwards to hold that frying pan there? 5-pound frying pan.
I'm going to say
pressure.
5 pounds.
5 pounds, exactly.
Right.
If you had 4 pounds of pressure, it would fall off, right? So 5 pounds of pressure will hold it there,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So on the bottom of a spinning globe, where you have hundreds of trillions of tons of water, how much pressure do you need to hold the water to the planet?
Hundreds of trillions of tons?
And we can walk around and butterflies can fly and we can jump in the air and birds can fly, and none of that makes any sense. So what is gravity? Why do things go down? Well, the one thing that, gravity and, the one thing that we all agree on is buoyancy and density. Buoyancy and density. That's what sorts everything else out. Now, there is a bit of a discussion inside the Flat Earth group, which is actually quite good, saying that you don't need a force, okay? But there is a force. Buoyancy and density. What do I mean by that? You have a helium balloon, ping pong balls, and a bunch of marbles, and you hold it over a pool, and you open your hand. The helium balloons are going to go up because they're less dense than the air. The ping pong balls and the marbles are going to drop down because they're more dense than the air. The ping pong balls will stay on top of the water because they're less dense than the water, and the marbles will go to the bottom of the pool because they're more dense, buoyancy and density. The question is, I ask, is what if I was holding a rock? And before I let go of the rock, I snapped my fingers and the entire earth disappeared. So now it's just infinite empty space. And I let go of the rock. How does it know which way is down? Right? It's a good question.
Sure.
And the answer is, there is a testable, measurable, scientifically provable flow of electricity from the atmosphere into the earth. Okay?
Okay.
There's all sorts of stuff that will show you that this exists. The earth is a neutral ground. It's a ground. Everything's ground. Everything goes into the ground. Okay? And when you change the electric charge of something, it will change its weight, if you will. So MIT has a thing called the silent drone, where it has no moving parts, and they say it's this ionic wind that makes it fly. No, it's changing it to a negative charge. Everything in the air has a positive charge. And so when you hold a coffee mug in the air, it's surrounded by the positive charge. You let it go, it's going to crash into the floor because it wants to. It is attracted, and it's more dense than the air around it. But they can fly this drone just by changing its electrostatic charge, right? And we can make things heavier by adding a stronger positive charge. And if you look at the periodic table, if you put the atoms in all of the elements in order of lightest to heaviest, each one that's heavier has one more positive charge than the one before it. So the heavier the positive charge, the heavier it is. Iron has a much more higher positive charge than feathers. And that's what makes things go down. During electrical storms, it has been noticed that things fall at different rates. And you ever wonder, when lightning strikes somebody or something, it goes flying in the air? Why does lightning make things fly in the air? Is it because maybe it's changing for a split second the charge of the earth, putting a solid positive charge into the earth, and anything that's positively charged above the earth will be repelled?
I honestly hadn't thought of it, but yeah, I mean, that would make sense.
Do you know where you can find more information on gravity?
The app.
On the frequently asked questions page under gravity. And again, don't believe any of it. Go watch it, verify it yourself, do some experiments, right? And that all can be found at flatearthdave.com. Everything will be there.
Okay, now explain this to me. And I'm not, questioning what you're saying so far, but why do, say, like naval ships or container ships float when, as far as I know, most of their hulls are made of iron, right?
Yeah, the reason they float is because of the space in between them. You got a little bit of iron on the outside, but then you have all of that air. Water is way more dense, and it will help. It'll float the boat. You can say, "Wow, it weighs hundreds of tons," but that much water, if you took a naval ship size section of water, it will weigh more than the ship.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Ryan, you got anything you want to add to that? Or are you just listening?
I'm listening, and I'm actually kind of glancing over stuff about this ionic propulsion for this MIT drone. I'd never even heard of that.
Yeah, they don't want you hearing about this stuff. And there's people go, what about the secret space program? I say, it's real, but it's called the secret propulsion program, and it's moving things around this earth that don't burn oil, right? Oil is just another scam also.
Dinosaur
it takes
juice.
Millions of years, and it's dinosaurs, No, it's not. It's abiotic. It's part of the earth. We shouldn't be pulling it out of the earth. And we don't need to, because there's free energy everywhere. There's free energy everywhere.
So are all the space agencies in on it throughout the world?
Yes. That's a lot of people to be in it. Somebody would talk, right? But you don't forget that. Just go, again, on the app, ISS, nonsense tab, and watch my interviews. You just have to catch them faking space once. Right? The green screens, wires, impossible. If you understand pressure, There's no way that a tin can in a vacuum of space wouldn't explode. Just go watch a soda can and Google soda can in vacuum chamber. It explodes, and that's not even a Tor 17 vacuum. It's not even close to no pressure, right? But it will explode. Why doesn't the International Space Station explode? Why don't astronauts in their stupid little snowboarding suits blow up the State Puff Marshmallow Man or whatever, right? Because if you have a bottle of water, next time you get on an airplane, get a water bottle and empty or just a little, make sure it has some air in it. Tighten the cap on really good, and then when you go up to altitude, the air pressure in the plane changes a tiny, tiny bit, and then you open that bottle, it wants to, it wants to let the air out. You open up a soda can, the soda. The pressure in the can equalizes instantly. Okay, that's what air does. It fills the available space. So space is absolutely ridiculous, and you can't have a vacuum next to a high pressure. The globalists will say, well, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner until there's no space. It's stupid. It's a stupid explanation because if I said, hey, go get me some propane, but don't bring the tank, you couldn't do it. And if you had a half a tank of propane, the bottom is liquid, and then it's like thicker gas, and on the top, it's the thinnest, right? But it's in a container. Poke a hole in the top of that container, and all of it will fill the available space instantly.
Well, I think, too, that people don't realize how compartmentalized these places are. People are I would assume, are on a very, very need-to-know basis, and they know very little except about what they're working on themselves, and then they all believe it too. So that would make sense.
We've talked to many people that work for NASA and SpaceX, and they don't know what the person next to them is doing. Right? Now, there are deceivers there that are in the know, but there's not nearly as many people working at NASA as you think. But NASA is literally a jobs program because they need us having jobs. They need everybody, having a job to power their matrix, because we literally live in the matrix, and it's the heliocentric system, and it's a prison for your mind. But the ones that we've spoken to, they're like, yeah, I don't know. I make this part, and I make this satellite piece, and then we send it off, and and it goes into space, as far as I'm told. And no, none of that happens.
Now, did you put out, and maybe multiple people have, but the comparisons of the images from some of the space telescopes with NASA's 747 that flies around with the telescope on it, and how the images from the 747 are just as good as the ones from the space telescope that's supposed to be, so far away?
Yeah, that's Sophia is the name of that telescope. It's on the side. It's in a 747. They have a big hatch on the side. They open it up. They fly at really high altitude, and they get some interesting shots. But one of our guys interviewed a guy that's in charge of Hubble, and he got him in this interview to admit that he's never seen direct feed from Hubble. And then he also got him to admit that the pictures from Sophia are literally the same as the ones from Hubble. And, the guy literally had a come-to-life moment during that discussion, realizing that his entire life his career is a sham. So, yeah, we don't have a tin can floating in space. We have this one picture of Hubble in space, and then recently, few years ago, they had a repair mission, and they took another picture of Hubble, exact same picture. They used the same picture. They're so lazy, okay? But if you look at Hubble, it's literally a tin can wrapped in tinfoil with the wheels from one of those balsa wood airplanes and a Del Monte can of beans wrapped in tinfoil. It's the dumbest thing you've ever seen, and you have to believe that that's just sitting there, right? Now, so check this out. The telescopes on Earth, there are real telescopes on Earth, and these observatories on the tops of these mountains, and they take what they call deep space images, where they have to do where the telescope is literally turning to maintain so the spin of the Earth, supposedly. So it's turning so it can stay focused on the exact same spot in the sky, and it has to do a time lapse of 10 hours or something, okay? And they're focusing on a spot in the sky the size of a grain of rice, they say, okay? Right? And so they're doing these long exposures, and they're picking up very, very faint lights. Now, they say that these telescopes are on these giant cement pads, deep cement pads, and they're saying that the operator during this has to take his shoes off and wear his socks and walk very quietly, very softly, because the slightest vibration in the pad will ruin the entire exposure. Okay, that's cool, right? Now we have Hubble taking these pictures. Now, Hubble is floating in a non-resistant space vacuum. So what is to stop it from drifting? Like, you ever try to put a boat in the water and have it with no anchor or anything and have it maintain one direction with the resistance of the water? So Hubble is doing that. It's also spinning with the Earth at 17,000 miles an hour. It's also chasing the orbit of the Earth at 66,000 miles an hour. It's chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour, but it can take a 10-hour time lapse of a grain of rice in the sky. Okay? People need to think. People need to start thinking, and they have an appeal to authority. They're like, oh well, I'm not a scientist, and the astrophysicists, they've all figured it out, and where did you get your degree?
Yeah.
Okay, I got my degree from common sense.
So, in your opinion, or you may not have an opinion on it, where does all that money go? I mean, we could feed the world if we shut down NASA.
Yeah.
So where's that money going?
The $71 million a day that NASA gets?
Mm-hmm.
$71 million every single day. Now, it doesn't go to NASA. It goes into black budgets, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, the real black budgets, they don't need money. They're the ones that make money, right? Let's say the people that are ruling this world, they need $12 billion or whatever. They just type the numbers into a computer and go, look, we have $12 billion in this account. Here, you take it. Okay. And there's no accounting for that. None of that.
Gotcha.
So it's all just a game of fake money and, we budget and NASA, Donald Rumsfeld on 9/10, the day before 9/11. Oh, we lost $2.3 trillion in the Pentagon. $2.3 trillion.
Right.
You know how much a trillion is? A trillion. If we paid back $1 every second, it would take 31,000 years to pay back $1 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's so stupid that people believe this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad. No matter where you stand on everything, let's go ahead and feed people before we start worrying about taking, audio of a black hole that's, 41,000 light years away. Let's just spend it on things that we actually need it on. So
people are fascinated. We're going to go to Mars. We're going to live on Mars. Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. There's nothing there. There's no food. There's no water. Or maybe there's water now, or whatever. The sun is distant. It's freaking cold. It makes no sense. We'd have to terraform it to get there. Wait, why don't we just use our planet here? Right? Well, what if we ruin our planet? Our planet ruined is better than Mars. Okay? Why don't we just build some domes in Ethiopia, because we already have air. We're already here. We could build railroad lines to bring in supplies, and just do that. I mean, that you could do all of this stuff here on Earth. And then to believe that we're going to go to other stars, right? The closest star, if we're going 100,000 miles an hour, it would take 28,000 years to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Stop with the space travel. The truth is, outer space is here. Right here on flat Earth. Disclosure's here. It's just thousands of miles away. It's a day trip. It's a day trip away.
Tell us about the planets, the stars, the wandering stars, because people, I think they're going to basically have this vision of a plate with a dome over the top of it, and the stars and, planets. I know a lot of people call them wandering stars. Where do they fit in this model?
So again, anything above where we can reach is purely speculation. But all the evidence I've seen and all the ancient civilizations, I think that the stars that we see, the lights in the sky, are not burning balls of gas. Scientifically impossible. That doesn't work. The planets used to be called wandering stars. They're very similar to stars. They just go on their own wandering path. What are they? I don't know. I think they're sentient, if you ask me. Maybe stars are souls. Maybe the wandering stars are fallen angels. I don't know. But what I do know is that they're not the sizes and distances that they tell us, right? I can't get into all the math and everything, but it's scientifically provable that we could not see Polaris, that we can see with our naked eye, if it was a light month away. A light month, that's the distance light travels in a month, okay? And that would be magnitudes too far to see, but they tell us it's 433 light years away, but we can still see it. You can scientifically prove that all of that is nonsense. So what are these things? They're here, they're within the Earth plane, right? And the way I like to describe the Earth is, imagine you're in Kansas and you're on a lake, and the lake is 100 miles in circumference. That's a nice big lake. And there's islands all through the lake, and at the center of the lake is a big mountain, that's magnetic. It's a big rock. It's a magnetic rock.
Okay.
So you're on the lake, right? You're 50 miles from the mountain, right? You can't even see it because it's so small, but your compass points towards it. Right? So you can go east and west, and you'll circle equidistant around that center and come right back to where you went from. And you just circumnavigated the lake. It's not a sphere, it's a flat lake. But if you wanted to go south, any direction away from the center is south, because the compass would point to the center. You go south, and what's going to happen? You're going to come to the edge of the lake. Now, do you fall off into space? No. You step up onto the land, because the land is higher than the lake. Antarctica is higher than the world's oceans. Okay, most of Antarctica is a 200 foot, plateau, but there are other areas of Antarctica that have a shoreline and just ramp up the hills to get up to the plateau.
Right.
Okay, so now you step up onto the land and you start walking away. You're walking across Kansas. You're a mile away from the lake. You can't even see the lake anymore. Just a mile, right?
Yeah.
Now you go maybe 5 miles, 10 miles. Now this is a smaller scale, right? We're just looking at Kansas, and all of a sudden you come to another lake. Another lake. What is that? Is that Mars? Is that Jupiter? Is that Neptune? Is that Sirius? These could be other worlds, extra terra, extra land, extra worlds. They're pieces of the plane. A planet is a piece of the plane. A planet.
Well, that makes sense. Eclipses. Because this is going to be one that people get stuck on too. How do these eclipses work?
So eclipses don't work in a heliocentric model. Bill Nye, the lying guy with the bow tie, he's like, if the Earth was flat, the eclipse would be a line at some times, because only a sphere can cast a spherical shadow. But if you try to cast a shadow from one sphere to another sphere, it doesn't come as that perfect little curve. As it eclipses, it comes in as a big parabola. It spreads out, and then it leaves as a narrow parabola. It doesn't work that way. Now, if you eclipsed it with a straight edge, you see the exact same thing that we see during a lunar eclipse. But I don't think that's what's happening at all.
Okay.
And since when does the Earth's shadow become red? What's this red moon? We have these blood moon eclipses. That doesn't make sense. Well, that's the atmosphere, refracting the light. Again, nonsense. Just like rainbows, nonsense.
All right.
It's not made from ice crystals. So what is causing the eclipse? Well, the solar eclipse is supposedly the moon going in front of the sun, and it makes a lot of sense because the moon is should be near the sun, but it's always a new moon during an eclipse. And no one has ever seen a new moon. When the moon goes new, that last bit of light leaves the moon, nobody from anywhere, from the space station, an airplane, infrared telescopes, anywhere, has ever seen the eclipse in less than, I think, 40 hours. It's almost 2 full days. So where does it go? And when there's an eclipse happening, no one sees the moon approaching the sun. Well, that's because the sun's so bright. Well, when there's a total eclipse and the moon, or whatever it is blocking all of the sun, how come you don't see the moon then? You don't. You just see the sun missing. Okay? You just see the sky still.
Right.
Right? And then it leaves, and no one's ever seen it leave. So on the app, under the frequently asked questions, on the eclipses, there's lots of explanations of what's going on there. But the Seleninian eclipse, which is a lunar eclipse, there's been over 50 documented ones where the observer can see the sun on one horizon, the moon on the other, opposite, and they're both above the horizon and the eclipse starts. Well, that's impossible because the Earth is supposed to be in perfect alignment for it to happen. And if the Earth was coming into alignment, the shadow would come in from the bottom, but the shadow comes in from the top sometimes. So what does that prove? Does that prove how eclipses happen? No. It proves that it's not what they tell us. It's not the Earth shadowing the sun. And you can't cast a crisp shadow 250,000 miles. Get a basketball, hold it against a wall or against the ground, and see the nice crisp shadow. And now lift it up a couple of feet, a couple away from that wall or that floor. The shadow just dissipates. You don't even get a clear shadow. Okay?
I'm with you.
It just dissipates. Yeah. And the same thing would happen in a vacuum. Well, it's a vacuum of space. You don't understand. The atmosphere, baloney. It happens in a vacuum too. Okay? So again, the ancients knew about eclipses. And the other thing is, if we're in a heliocentric gravitational model where all of these bodies, hundreds of bodies in our solar system, trillions of bodies in our galaxy, all of them orbiting each other, pulling on gravity and everything, there would be a chaos. It would be a mess. Look up the 3-body problem. They can't even model 3 bodies, 3 gravitational bodies. They can never predict what it's going to do. They can do 2, but not 3, right? And 4, 5, 10 trillion, you can't figure it out. So here's the question. How come eclipses repeat their pattern every 18 years? The exact same thing happens every 18 years and a month or whatever it is. It's called the Soros cycle. There's 2 different cycles. And these eclipses don't need to be predicted because you know what they're going to do. It's a pattern, right? That makes 0 sense in the helio-nonsensical model. It makes perfect sense on the flat Earth sky clock.
Tell us some more things that work only on the flat Earth model and not in the heliocentric model. I know you've covered a few, but if there's any, I want to get everything out there in case there's something you haven't covered yet. So
they want to tell you, oh, you can see curvature from an airplane. Then we show that you can't. Like, oh, no, you got to go up in a fighter jet at 70,000 feet. And then they show us a whole bunch of fisheye lenses, but they forgot the one in the cockpit wasn't fisheye. And it showed a flat horizon. That's from the Mythbusters. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson goes, oh, no, you got to go up higher. You got to go up to 120,000 feet where Felix Baumgarten, Red Bull jump. He saw the curve. But then they screwed up with that camera also in the cockpit, which showed a perfectly level eye level horizon at 127,000 feet. And when he climbed into the capsule, when it was on the ground, the horizon was at the exact same cross section in the hatch. So went up 127,000 feet, and the horizon didn't drop at all. Okay. And then Neil says, you can't see the curvature from that height. Now you got to be higher than 127,000 feet. Okay. So that's what I called moving the globe post. Okay. They constantly move the globe post. So they say you can't see the curvature, but you can see boats go over the curve. Okay. So they want their cake and eat it too. I hate that term, but whatever. So on a ball, 24,901 miles around, like they tell us. A 6-foot tall person standing at the edge of a calm ocean looking west can only see the surface of that water for 3 miles. After that, the surface of the water will drop behind a physical curve. And now that is only if the water is perfectly clear, perfectly flat, no waves. Now, if there's waves, they see less than 3 miles. Okay? Less than 3 miles. A little swell, we'll take another mile off of that. Okay? But let's pretend it's the calmest day ever. There's no swell, no boat waves, no nothing, no wind. And I'm watching the sunset. So now the sun is 93 million miles away, they want us to tell us. And we're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. But when the sun intersects with my horizontal eye zone, or not my curve eye zone, that would only be 3 miles away. So when you watch the sunset over the ocean, do you see it intersecting the water at 3 miles away? No. You see it. No, I don't care what the conditions are. You see it. Dozens or, way out there, way out there, not 3 miles.
Yeah.
So again, wrap your mind around that. That ball, the physical ball, requires the sunset to happen 3 miles or less from you. Okay? And again, on that perfectly calm water, you'll see the sun reflecting off the water all the way across. You'll see a line, but you can't do that on a curved water. You curve it the slightest bit, you're going to have a point of light. You're not going to have that streak of light. That only works on a flat water. Again, in the app, under the images section, scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a whole bunch of memes, and there's a great one there that shows that.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the app, but it's a good kind of lost. So, real quick, maps.
So we don't have a perfect map, but I like the Gleason's map. It works for navigation. It is accurate as it is, and it's still used for navigation. All of the world organizations, from the UN to the Marine, whatever they're called, they all use that in their logo. They use the Gleason's map in their logo. Something weird about that. Okay. And it makes absolute perfect sense if you look at flight routes, southern flight routes. It makes perfect sense. So do I think the Gleason's map is perfect? I don't know. Might be pretty close.
Fair enough.
Look at the app. You're looking straight down at the Earth, and wherever you see the sun, that's where it's noon. So watch the sun go around and say, oh, you know what? It's December, and it's right over Sydney, Australia. If you have a friend in Sydney, call them up and say, hey, where's the sun and what time is it? And they're going to say, it's directly above me and it's noon. And so that works everywhere. Somebody in South Africa, somebody in the Falkland Islands, somebody in Brazil, right? Wherever the sun is, you call that person up and say, where's the sun? And they'll say, it's directly above me and it's noon. Okay? And so there's something very accurate about that map.
Now, if you're flying, say, like an SR-71 Blackbird or any kind of supersonic jet, you would have to have your nose pointed down for... I mean, tell us a little bit about that. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because if you flew in a straight line, you'd shoot off into space because you're flying around the ball, but you got to nose down. At the speed that thing flies, I think you have to drop 800 feet per second or minute. It's a ridiculous number. It is so stupid that I can't even remember what it is. But you have to drop. I think it's 800 feet a second. Don't quote me on that because that sounds insane. But the whole heliocentric model is absolutely insane. If you calculate the speeds and and then the question is, how long do you calculate it for? You say, okay, for 1 hour, if it's going 2,300 miles per hour, 1 hour, the curvature is, I'm not going to do the math right now, but it's insane. On the app, there's a curvature calculator. You can figure out how much curve there is, even from whatever viewing height. But it doesn't matter what the height is because the curve is the curve when you're moving forward. And the numbers are absolutely insane. At 100 miles, there's over 6,600 feet of curvature, right? At 200 miles, it's far more. It's not double. It's like quadruple. It's ridiculous.
All right. Is it a religious thing?
Absolutely not. The heliocentric model is a religious thing because it's all based on faith and there's no proof of it whatsoever. So that is a religious thing. Now, there are a lot of religious people in Flat Earth. There's a lot of religious people everywhere. A lot of religious people playing softball, going to AA meetings, right? Shopping in the supermarket, book clubs, and flat earthers, okay? And globe earthers, okay? They're everywhere. So is it a religious thing? There's a lot of people, like my co-host Matt Long on the Flat Earth Podcast. He comes from the biblical side, and he's like, yeah, it's in the Bible, it's in the Bible, it's in the Bible. And I agree, it is. But if you're talking to anybody, actual science relates to every single person. If you're talking about the Bible, somebody that doesn't believe in the Bible isn't going to listen to anything you're saying. But I like doing the science and then go, no, by the way, it's also in the Bible.
Sounds like a great way to wrap it up. Ryan, you got anything you want to add or ask?
No, I don't. I have about 27 open Chrome tabs now, though, because I'm looking at all this stuff.
Yeah, there you go. And, a lot of this stuff is very visual. I recommend go to the flatearthpodcast.com. Check out the app. If you don't want to get the app, just click the Flat Earth videos there. I also have a thing called the Crash Course, which is the best videos ever. They're the documentaries, and I have a challenge. it's the Flat Earth App Challenge or the Crash Course Challenge. Watch the videos in the Crash Course or watch the daily video on the app every day for 2 weeks. And at the end of that, if you can come up with one globe proof, you win 3 Bitcoins. I think that's about 90 grand today. Okay, maybe more. And all you need is one globe proof. And this is the thing. You're not going to find one because we don't live on a globe. So, but if you think I'm crazy, come claim your Bitcoins. But before you send it to me, you have to go in the app and click the frequently asked questions button, because 99% of your questions are already answered in there. And then you could learn yourself, because I can't handhold you and teach everybody. But you can just go listen to all my interviews on my website, flatearthdave.com. Scroll down to latest interviews, and all of the latest interviews are there, and all my socials are there. And if you're like, I want some short videos, my channel, DITRH, linked on flatearthdave.com, is all my videos are under 5 minutes. And they'll help you. They'll help you scratch your head at least.
Well, it's a great way to spend your time instead of playing Candy Crush or something. So I think the app's amazing. You can kick back at a park, boom, put a video on. You can, you're waiting in line at the bank, boom, put a video on. It's just, it's all in one spot. It's easy and it's packed with info. You absolutely killed it today. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to tell them?
There's another thing on the app. Have you guys used the Friend Finder yet?
I have not, no.
So the Friend Finder, people are using it to, it's like when you're a flat earther, you want to talk to other like-minded people. It's like you live in zombie land, and it's like you don't know who's around you. But if you go on the Friend Finder, it shows you all of the other blue dots around you. We're pushing 100,000 right now. That should, in May, it'll be 100,000. And you can message those people. We're having a meetup at April 29th in Connecticut and Stamford, Connecticut. Anyone in the area that's hearing this. And we sent out a broadcast message to everybody within 100 kilometers. And all these people are going to show up. People are using it as a friend finder, as a significant other finder, a dating app, if you will, because I've never met a blue dot I don't like, right? Because these are people that are awake, aware, critical thinkers, and it's amazing. Now, full disclosure, the app is $3. You get everything. But if you want to message people on the app, or there's even video calls in groups, you can do group video calls. It's crazy what the app can do now. Or the new games feature, which we have a great trivia game. The games feature is super fun, and you can play 1 to 4 players. Playing by yourself is awesome, and then play with others. And I have a new game coming out. It's a memory game. It's super fun, and you could play remote. Like 2 people can meet up, can connect and play against each other. It's going to be a lot of fun. But the advanced features like that, you have to subscribe, and it's $11 a year. $11 a year, not a month. $11 a year. It's a no-brainer. But if you don't want to pay the $11, you can do 11. If you get 11 people to get the app and use your referral code, you can cash in those 11 points for the year subscription. Piece of cake.
All right. Well, is that all you've got to plug, or do you have something else you want to talk about before?
That's it. Everything can be found at flatearthdave.com. If you got a podcast and you want me on, there's Book Flat Earth Dave. You want to take the crash course. And also, I got a new movie coming out on Flat Earth Day, which is April 22nd. Used to be called Earth Day. And it's the 3rd in a series of the Level movies. Have you guys watched the Level movies yet?
I have not, no.
So on the app, you can also just go to my website and go to the crash course. There's Level, which is the first one. And then the next Level, which is the second one. That's the one I'm in. And then this one this year is Level with Me. This is the game changer. It is scientifically impossible for any person to watch all 3 of those movies and walk away being a globe believer. It is scientifically impossible, right? And this one, we're going to take apart the space program, the Challenger disaster, and Flat Earth. We're just going to make it. It's going to be an amazing one, and that's just coming out in a couple days. So get ready for that. If you have the app, keep an eye on the featured videos. Good stuff.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us and share so much information. And I think we're actually a few minutes over, so I really appreciate it.
All right, you got it, man. Thanks. All right, see you guys.
All right, that's all we've got for you. Tell them what they need to know.
Please, if you like the show, share us on social media, share us with friends, family, anybody that you think might be interested, even if you don't agree with what we have to say, because we don't always necessarily agree with everything that we talk about, but we like to present all sides. We like to present, you guys probably have recognized that I'm the more skeptical one here, or at least I'm less good at keeping my skepticism in check. We want to present some interesting information for you guys, some fun stories. So sharing those is the best way to help us out. It's the most organic way for something like this to grow and to find an audience and to hopefully get some good feedback from you guys, because we need a community to get ideas from and build this whole thing around. And you can find us and possibly other members of this community through our TikTok, which is at Cryptique_podcast, or YouTube at Cryptique Podcast. And another way to help us out, as always, is to check out Parabox, which we've talked about a million times. They make awesome t-shirts, great designs, obscure and interesting topics. It's hard to come up with something new and interesting to say about them that I haven't said before. I just really like their designs. I think they make some great products, and you can find a link to them in the show notes.
Good evening, Crypt Keepers.